Okay, haven't done this in a while. Following the first page on Chief Doc's Q&A. And I'm being honest, I haven't done this in a while because the questions are getting more complicated. And so this usually takes me an hour, and I've looked a couple times just thinking about doing it, and I'm like, oh man, that's going to take me 3 hours to get through that first page. Anyways, here we are. This is one of people that come into this channel. This is one of their favorite things that I do. I get so many requests to do this. So I hear you, and here you go. Let's do one. All right, so we've got step foundation wall. This guy says, I have a full height basement. Floor level's 94 inches. Two problems. I can't delete something, something, something. Some weirdness happening here in this plan. BB Cooper is really awesome. He's always helping people out here, so he's given some tech support articles, and it looks like we've got the plan. So let's download that. Okay, and I paused and I downloaded it. You didn't have to wait for that. So what do we have here? Let's take a look at this. First of all, they're building their, looks like a walkout basement on level 0. And I know there's some people out there that like doing that. In the power, what I would consider the power users group, advanced level 2 user groups that go to the chief architect events in Idaho. But mostly everyone in the room, when we polled the room, said that they build out on level 0. Excuse me, they build out the foundation footing level 0, they'll build out the walkout basement on level 1. I do that as well. It offers a lot of benefits. So we've got this weird little thing going on here, and what is, look at this. This is indicating a room almost. Try to tab in, but somehow designating some kind of a room. So that's funny. So let's go look at this 2D. I always have to turn off the grids. Let me turn that off real quick. Yeah, so we've got, it looks like multiple different walls, and then they've got walls that are bumped to walls. And this is probably creating a room, which is creating that little issue. I don't know that I'm going to do a lot to fix this plan because it's quite a bit of work to then move this up, right? So I would be going to build floor, and we're going to build a new floor off of this. And we're going to derive, I don't really want to derive, it's almost like you need to insert actually. So we'd go up a level, build, floor, insert new floor. Okay. And then you'd have to do the work to kind of transfer some of these walls. So like take this wall type, let's do the match properties tool and try to get just that same wall type upper. Okay. That'll grab all those walls. I could essentially cut those walls, bring them up a level, paste them. And this ends up being a little bit of work for sure. Here's that same method. So I'm just going to cut these, take them up a level, paste them. So we're starting to build this out. Notice that it's got some kind of pony wall or some kind of designated footing here. Here's a pony wall, right? And it might be that this is designated as a foundation wall. We want to uncheck that. Default wall bottom height. I'm always going to say try not to drag your walls because that can affect some things. In fact, I would just go ahead and select all walls here, right? I'll just use the wall tool and then do a restrictive selection, all walls, and let's just make sure we've got default wall bottom height. In fact, it's easy to just get into that edit menu and go to reset the default and go right here, wall top heights, wall bottom heights for all floors. Why not, right? Because it's going to fix things more than it's going to, cause any problems. So from here, then just start conforming this. And I mean, the biggest problem is it's going to do a lot of funny things to the structure, right? It kicks it down, but it also solves that issue, that weird little break issue that was happening there. And so then maybe you've got a better starting point here. And yeah, you'd have to set these up to be pony walls to show you got some kind of step foundation, etc. But this is going to be a much better approach. It's going to fix a lot of the problems that you had. So this is what I'd start from. there you go. I'm going to call this one done. I'm not going to do too much more work on this, but that's how I would solve this issue. So I'll post this back and tag that person, and hopefully they get some good info out of that, and plug away and repost it again if you have a problem. So, all right, let's get back to, I got to get through these quick. Otherwise we're going to be doing this for a long time. Let's see. PBR is the topic here. I'm using X16, no refraction. Why not refraction? Why not? I'm finding that my go-to values for lighting don't work now. Guessing it's a brand new ballgame. Yes, it is. It's path tracing now. It's path tracing, and we have material-based emitters that are actually traceable paths of light, right? So I'm never going to do a perfect job of explaining exactly how the ray trace engine works because, well, for one, a lot of it's guesswork from my years of doing rendering, but also a lot of it is just a little too complex to explain in a short segment. So I use a little bit of like short speak for this, but is anyone else doing exteriors? Yes, I'm doing exteriors, and we've got some base settings from Eric user, and that's it. So my projects are exterior house finishes, so it's going to be another set of values, I'm guessing. So let's just take this project, for instance, and let's see if we can make this look pretty good just out of the box, right? And so first of all, I want to throw a backdrop in here. So I got a backdrop in my library. You guys can't see that I'm clicking on that right now, but I'm clicking on one, and I'll place it into this shot. And let's just move over to a ray trace view. And backdrops take a minute to load, so take a second, but a few hours later. Come on, Chief, load that sucker up. There we go. And then let's go ahead and build or create a terrain perimeter. I like to use my grass texture that I've been using for a while now, but the other thing that you could do is just do a grass region, right? So polyline based grass region. That's going to look a little nicer. Set that up the way you need to. Let's kick on to ray trace PBR, and then I'm also going to I'm always going to take the time to do some landscaping, but we're just talking about purely just ray trace settings for exterior. So just open this up and see what they had as their settings. So they have table. This is going to be just a totally different look and feel. The white point and black point are a little heavier in the Aces version of this, and then it's maybe has a little bit more contrast, I would say. Yeah, it gets kind of close to an HDR feel, but not really. It doesn't have warm tones, so you'd have to kick up, you'd have to change your hue a little bit in that case. Here's kind of out of the box settings, 3 and 4 for opaque bounces and transmissive specular bounces. Samples, you only need your sample rate to be as high as you need it to be to get rid of the undersampled pixels, the fireflies, etc. So maybe I'll just go to like 120. The backdrop intensity really, 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 really depends on the backdrop that you're using. There is no one size fits all here, especially if you're using your own provided backdrop. I like to underexpose my backdrops, and then that gives me a broader range of settings that I can do with the backdrop intensity. It makes for a more dynamic range of things I can do with that backdrop intensity. For this particular backdrop, you could probably set this up to like 15,000 on an exterior shot. And then I love to check use only backdrop for lighting. And then let's check out what this is looking like. Might kick up the automatic exposure a little bit. I mean, that's, you know, looking pretty good. And then I'm always on an exterior shot, going to come in here and change the field of view. Depends on the type of shot I'm trying to get, but I mean, right there, just a snapshot of that. You put in some landscaping, you put in some trees, and it might point you to something where you're like looking at this and going, hey, you know what, man, maybe I could do some additional exterior features that would help spruce this up. And then materials are always going to be the big difference makers. So I have a comp shingle roof material that I use, that I built myself actually, and that will always kind of improve the look of this. And then I have some siding materials, same thing. That will always improve the look of a shot. I have to change the color of this to match the color that they've got here, but my siding's got a little bit more movement in it. Depends on the siding you want to use. Got several different kinds, but it looks like they're using two different materials in this because I'm in plan mode and it's not changing the whole thing all at once. So different wall types, maybe something like that. So, and then little things like downspouts, flashings, all kinds of stuff like that. That all makes a big difference on how this is going to turn out. So, there would be my recommendation in terms of backdrop intensity. You really do have to sit there and pick and choose which backdrop you want to use, what's producing the best lighting. Sometimes I'll use a backdrop that I don't intend to have in my final shot, and then when I go to export the image, right? So export picture, excuse me. Then I will go ahead and say transparent background, and then you export it as a PNG file, and that backdrop will disappear, although you'll still see the reflection on the windows. But if I just like the lighting quality backdrop, sometimes I'll do that, and then do the work to kind of, change that backdrop to something else. So there we go. Let's go to the next one. Do many home designers share their CAD files? All right. Depends. That really depends. If it's someone that I know and I have a good working relationship, I call that breaking the rules. I will break the rules and I'll share with them CAD files. Um, I, I have an engineer that requested CAD files from me really early on, and I told him no. I said it's a big liability for me to share CAD files with you when I'm in initial design concept, because I could be held liable for you guys engineering something based on something that's not finished for me. And then the other thing is that you got to make sure that you have a contract and you're holding people to that contract for distribution and a few other things. I mean, this really touches on a lot of things. You should always be a little bit cautious about sharing CAD files. I think that's, generally speaking, there you go. And then there's some legality issues there as well, just ownership, etc. Go look this up. Go check on AIA. I'd say look this up. This belongs in the chat room, not in the Q&A, but there you go. Locating to surveyor's coordinates. All right. So accurate survey coordinates. This becomes a really, really challenging thing to do accurately. And, people are giving a very linear response to this, I can see. But if you're trying to get absolute accuracy for surveyor coordinates, you have to take into account curvature of the Earth, polar, right? The Earth is an ellipse. Getting locked up right here, and there's quite a few calcs you have to do in order for you to get it to be really, really dead on accurate. I can, with a script I wrote, I could get within 9 inches in an acre or something like that. And then I've got a newer script that I haven't finished yet, and that's even a little bit more accurate. But it's quite complicated to write, and you need that script in order. Because we're just talking about drawing space and paper space right now. That is not taking into account curvature of the Earth. It's a two-dimensional, sheet space here. So this is a very complex thing to handle. You could go and try talk chat GPT into it. Just keep in mind that things change the further you get towards the poles versus the equator line, right? And because it's an ellipse, and there's yeah, I'm not gonna get too far into this. I'm gonna say something wrong probably. I have to go look this stuff up too. It's not something I'm all that studied on, but I took geotechnical survey courses, and Dad was a surveyor, so fun fact, he used to survey plane crashes in Vietnam. It's an odd one. It's got some terrible stories about that. All right, so next one is best practices for storing and applying keynotes and notes. They're looking for suggestions in a more efficient method of creating and entering keynotes and general notes. Currently have a Word document which contains a large collection of notes that they've used over the past few years. And then when they're creating their floor plan keynote schedule, go through all the notes in the Word doc and copy and paste them in the note specification box. Well, there's a much faster way of doing this in X16, so that's cool. We'll get into that in just a second. Then they do the same multiple more times, opening the spec box, copy paste. Does anyone have suggestions to make this process more efficient? Ideally, it would be a way to create a floor plan keynote schedule. So I have a very cool thing that's in my pro plan, and I'll show it to you. And it's essentially, I had this same question: is there a more efficient way to drop in keynotes? And the answer for me was to build a macro-based hash. And a hash is name value pairs or an array. And so I've got name value pairs in this case. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, if I connect a text box to something that is a wall type, I want you to look that up according to wall types. Look up a key and a value for that, right? Name value pair. I'll show you how that works. I drop this note in, and when it's not connected to anything, it just reads what room it is, and then it puts some text based on that room. This would be, my example would be flooring TBD is some text that I had in that person's Word document, right? And then if I drag out a leader and connect this to a wall, then it's going to see, hey, we're connected to a wall. Let's look up this thing from that Word document and put that there. Same thing, I want to connect it to this window, and we're going to see, hey, that's new window per schedule, bam. And we got a staircase, and we want to look that up, So all the same thing, does something based on a lookup, right? Take this down to my basement level, and it knows there's this crawl space, head clearance down here, because this is this one's a stem wall construction, and then it shows, stem wall with footing. So that's my way of doing it. Now, this is a complicated system to build, and I'm really glad that I built it. But let's go back to the question at hand, which is, how can we, we'll just take this user's plan again. That way we're not even using my pro plan. And how can we just build a system here where we're just pasting in from our Word document? Well, if you have a bunch of text, right? And oops. Come on. That's not gonna let me do anything. All right. And you want to paste it. So now in X16, we just get to highlight all these, and in our edit toolbar, convert text to note. Super simple, right? So we just created notes out of this, and maybe we're displaying them on this view, and maybe we are, looks like they don't have a note schedule. So maybe we're creating a note schedule from there, bam. All right, so that's a really simple thing to do, is we're just whipping in text from our plan. We're not having to go and place a note, right? Place the note, go to the text, copy it, paste it, etc. We're cutting out a lot of that middle stuff there, those extra clicks we'd have to do. So maybe that's a faster way for that person. The other thing I would say is that they just save a bunch of these notes once they've done it one time to their library. You just get to add this to your library. Bam. Organize them, name them appropriately. There it goes. They just showed up in my library. Bring this on the screen real quick. There's those notes. And so I just need to make sure that, I'm labeling these, I'm tagging them, I'm putting search attributes to them so that I can find them very easily, so that I can just drag them into plan. And then if you haven't seen it, I'll try to pin something to the top of the screen that is customizing your library browser. And then that way you just get to add these notes straight up to your toolbars so that you could just click on them. because that's all I'm doing here. Is some of these up here are notes, or this is a call out. They're just right on my toolbar, and this is my own user configurable call out. So really simple and easy way to store all these things accurately and easy, and being able to look them up as opposed to having them in some kind of external Word document. You want to get really fancy? Chief can actually pull text from a comma separated value document. That's an outside document. So if you are always having someone in the office punch in a bunch of information, because that's just your process, you can always be pulling that information from a comma separated value document or a number of different other types of documents and be bringing it automatically into something like a schedule. It's pretty tricky to set up, but it's very cool once you've got it set up. So you can almost do like a database setup that way. All right, let's get back to this. Moving objects with dimension line. And this has got 2 pages of text. This is, or responses. That's interesting. User says, I picked the circle, and after clicking on the dimension line, I can change the location of the circle. I don't understand why sometimes it works and other times it won't work. Interesting. So they're showing that they've got an edit handle on the side of this circle, and they're clicking on some kind of a dimension line and specifying it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it does not. And then you use these options as shown in this image. Cannot find a way to have this in default. So they're showing a line, it seems, this time. Something. I'm not quite sure what's being missed right here. Oh, let's just watch a little short video, huh? How about that? So they click a circle, which is okay. That seemed like it was working correctly. Although you can't tell if they're clicking a circle or clicking some kind of a point marker. Hard to tell from that little video there. Let's just do a circle by center. So here's a circle by center. I click on this and I'm able to change this direction, right? So I'm not quite sure what was happening there and what's being missed. And I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of interesting info out of this without diving into the 2 pages of what's going on here. Yeah, it might be using a point-to-point dimension and it's not correctly snapped. Right? I'm always discouraging people from using the point-to-point. Okay. Sloped insulation at wall. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? This should just go in suggestions. So I don't know that we can break. Yeah, we can't break the insulation based fill polyline that comes from like an auto detail. And I can see already what Glenn's suggesting is that you just make your own insulation fill and place it in a poly box. So here we go. We got a polyline, right? And we can just open this up and go to the fill style. And then in our library, should be that we have an insulation. Fill patterns insulation. You might need to go download one, to tell you the truth. Or maybe it's called something that I'm just not thinking. Bonus catalog. What does Glenn say? Insulation. Yeah, this looks like something he might have imported. Yeah, he imported this. So you can go look up for a PAT file online somewhere, and where it's an insulation, and I can't remember how do you limit to a particular file type in Google search. I think it's just file type and then PAT. Installation fill. Interesting. Chief Talk form comes up pretty quickly. Yeah. So that's what I go do. Go look up installation PAT file, and you can find that, and then you could slope that particular polyline yourself, right? And you have to mess around with the offset, horizontal. You know, he's probably showing it here. He's not. You'd have to mess around with the scale and the offset to get this to fit correctly, because you can see here that it's cut and repeating, right? So it's a repeating pattern in this case. You could always modify the PAT so that it has a really big blank space so that's not butted up to itself. That might be helpful. So you could do that in like Photoshop. I'm not going to show that in this video though. Okay, structure details. What do we got? I'm looking into adding a sheet for wood framing details to include such things as standard windows within wood framing, flashing details, etc. Does Chief generate these? I know that they have some details in the Chief library. It's a pretty straightforward, cut and dry question and answer. We know that I've got a bunch of them that are pretty dynamic in my Pro plan. So we'll show those for those people that have never seen that before. Got a whole built out system in here. Show it only briefly for those that have seen it way too many times. In my project browser under CAD Details, got about, I think, 75 details or something like that. So you can just see them down here as I'm scrolling through. It's going to be a fuzzy little representation of them, but all the annotations here are dynamic and built from a system that you can switch those annotations from this particular page. So won't get into it past that. Let's get back to rolling through these. Dollhouse view shows framing. Well, I love to have the hide layer tool on so that if I am in fact doing some kind of dollhouse view, like this isn't my plan, let's do a framing based dollhouse view. Let's build all the framing in this case so we can see it, right? And let's just say that I did not want to see the rafters. Well, you can get into tools, layer setting, and layer hider, okay? Or add this to your toolbars, right? So follow that video that I linked at the top of the page and now should be below the description, where you do a custom place library object in your library browser, and you can add this layer hider tool straight away to your toolbars. And it's really easy to come in here. And you can see I've got my color set up. That's another a video you can go check out if you want to match my colors. But there we go. As I'm highlighting this framing member, I just get the click and it's going to hide anything that particular object, that layer that object is on. Any other object that is on that same layer, it hides that layer, okay? So if I wanted to hide these ceiling framing members, right, ceiling joists, there we go. Easy enough, right? Hide the floor joists, easy enough. So really simple thing to kind of adjust your view. If you need to add layers back, then get into Aldo and go ahead and search those layers and turn them back on. So easy enough for me to search rafter. And you can see here I've got rafter as my search term. Now, let's just say instead I search joist, which is, or even framing for this matter, right? We got a bunch of things that come up in framing. Let's just say I want them all on. An easy way of doing that is if you have this gear icon at the bottom of the screen and you have layer edit buttons and layer set control turned on. I think, I'm not sure which one is which. It's been a while. Try that. Layer set control turn off. I think it's the layer edit buttons. Yep. So layer edit buttons are turned on. I just get to select all and click display. And now I'm just turning on the framing layers. Bam. Easy enough. Lighting schedule. How to add new symbols. I want to create a light symbol that shows up in my schedule. I have a basic knowledge of how to create a CAD block, which I did. Now I want to show up as an automated electrical schedule. All right, so we're missing a couple things. And this is, this user is learning. They're thinking that 2D CAD is somehow going to be representative of a symbol and an object that reports to schedule. Chief is a modeling based program. It's all going to be 3D based. So if you're watching this, that particular user, we need to have a 3D object that is represented by a 2D symbol, and then that object, and that's a classification. It needs to be an object in order for it to report to a schedule. So you can create anything as an object, really. You can use the solid tools if you wanted to. Let's just say that I've got this square right? This cube, in fact. And so I'm going to, in my edit toolbar, convert the selected to a symbol. And let's just say that this is going to be an electrical symbol in this case. And let's show advanced options. All right. And we're going to, this time I'm not going to add it to the library, but just press OK. This is going to bring up our advanced options. All right. Which is actually just our specification. And so in here, I can get into light data and I want to specify it as a light. Now this symbol is technically a light, okay? And that will report to an electrical schedule. In 3D, I get to name this new light fixture. In that light data specification, this is where you would specify where your light source is going to be. But in X16, in ray traced views, if you have a material that is an emitter, the emitter, I believe by default, will be producing the light source, and it will override wherever your particular light source is here. But in standard views, we're going to take whatever this light source is as the basis of the light source for that view. And let's see, we're going to say that's floor mounted, ceiling mounted, maybe it's wall mounted, etc. In the 2D section, you could specify that CAD block that you built. So I could say that I actually want this caged lantern to be representative of this particular fixture, okay? Now that I've got that, and I've said that this is wall mounted in this case, and in the general panel, we're going to see that this changed a little bit. I'm going to say height to center is 66 inches or something like that. Maybe it's offset from the wall 2 inches. And I hit escape. Oops. But then you'd be able to place that symbol right off the bat. So that's how you would create a light fixture symbol. You got more questions? Let us know. We'll come back to that one. Windows door schedule. I'd like to add a column to my window and door schedule that simply states if a shutter is present, yes or no. That's kind of interesting. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I kind of feel like there is no column for that, but let's see what DB Cooper's saying. He's saying no, but there's a built-in column for shutter type and another one for shutter size that may be close enough to what you need. Well, let's go and just take a look at what's reported from a window. I'm going to use a search macro that I built and just point this to a window. And in this case, let's throw some shutters on this window. Say we're going to say louvered shutters, bam, okay. And I'm going to come back to this search macro and I'm going to put in shutter. If I could spell right. There we go. And so what do we get? Position on casing. I don't see that there's anything that indicates whether or not they're shut or not. Why would you want to show that? That's really interesting. Oh, if a shutter is present, yes or no. Okay. So num shutters too would be the deal there. So if we have this set to default, you know, num shutters is 0. So you'd be building a macro that's in like a custom field for this window. Let's just do an example of this. So let's go object information panel, shutters, and not format as a number. And then we need to get to that new custom field we just created. Bam, right there, right? And then we'd write this in. Boy, I was not in the macro scripting headspace to do this on the fly. Maybe I'll just get a bot to do it instead. So basically you'd say if num shutters or when num shutters greater than 0, then yes, right? And then otherwise no. That's it. That'd be it. So if you didn't know about this, I actually have a forum now. I have a forum on my website, and so it's sign.net. You just scroll over here or hit this or even click on the down hamburger menu and you can get to the forum. And in the forum is a little chatbot that I built specifically for writing Ruby script in Chief Architect. So let's write this out. Write me a macro that looks at the variable num shutters, and when greater than 0, result should be yes, otherwise no. And then we want this as an owner macro, please. And he'll ask you, the bot will ask you some questions to clarify, right? But there we go. It built this out for us. So we should be able to just copy this. Bam. And then in this case, it's wanting us to take this into text macro management. So I'm just going to put a place marker here because I know what I'm going to name this. So it's just going to be called shutter. Okay. And that's in the shutters custom field. Okay. And I'm going to go, we'll even go bring this up so that we're looking at the schedule. So this is the next 16. You get to find schedule from object. So this is bringing us to this schedule now. Okay. Now in this schedule, I'm going to add a new field in columns and rows. I'm going to scroll down until I find shutters. There we go. So now that I added that, that's listed right here, right? So next up, let's go to text macro management, do a new one, call it shutter. And we're going to evaluate this. And I got an error on it. Let's go look at what I did wrong. Maybe the script is wrong. Just check it out real quick. So we'll just put this in the label. I like things this way. Better. Okay, so it's reporting there. I did something wrong. I'd have to dig in a little bit, figure out what I did. Oh, no, it's working now. Here you go. Shutters, no. Can we have a shutter on it? Let's see. Now let's put it on there. Shutter. Shutters. Delivered. And we could even say the type of shutter it is, etc. But there we go. Now we got a window schedule that says when there are shutters, yes or no. Pretty cool. And we changed the label, so it's saying that as well. Oops. Okay, let's get back to this. Proud of my little chatbot. Look at that, right out the gates, got it right. And also, this sends me a transcript of what you're trying to script. So if you ever have questions about it and you're trying to get back to it, I have the log of it. So if you wonder where you steered wrong, just post something in the forums and we'll get it answered for you. All right. Wasn't that the slickest plug you've ever seen? Wasn't that good? Yeah. I didn't do it on purpose. Looking for a double brick wall and column detail. Every product manufacturer has a free detail available for download. Oh, this is a nice resource. If you didn't look at this before, ArtCat. I love collecting resources like this. I'm going to keep this on an open tab and we'll throw it back in my resources section on the forum and also in my website. So yeah, this is going to be a simple one to answer. Thank you very much to V. Hampton, who this is. I don't remember your name right now. Where did the sill plate go? A black clipped cross section. I'm pretty sure I checked all the boxes correctly. Any ideas? I changed the material for the 8-inch foundation wall to drywall. Okay, they solved their own issue there. Not quite sure what happened, but okay. On to the next one. We're actually getting through these pretty, oh, 38 minutes. Yeah, it was about on pace. Zero experience. Can I model an A-frame in Chief Architect? Yes, you can. I will tell you that I have this is a cool one if you've never seen it before. I have a speed art on my channel. And let's just go to the playlists. And then under playlists, I have one called speed art. You pull full playlist. And I got one here that I drew in Chief. Old video, but it's sped up a million times over my old intro. This was me doing an A-frame though. All you're doing is doing a really heavily sloped roof. I mean, that's really all there is to it. And I even put some standard people were sending me these huge cantilever structures over like marshland. You can tell it's like AI generated stuff. And so I made the joke that this A-frame. So A-frame house, yeah, pretty simple. You're just specifying a heavy slope on your roof pitch, right? Almost no walls. And you'd have to get into it and start working through it and run into some problems, so I know what problems to solve for there. Give you a million different ways to build an A-frame. My deck keeps changing to white. Interesting. It probably means that they are breaking a room structure for some reason. Breaking an adjacent room, and then the deck is taking on the room name of that, I'm guessing. Yeah, can't really tell what's going on there, but that would be my guess, is that they built this room, they built the deck, and then they generated the exterior room after building the deck, and so the deck's taking on the properties of a room as opposed to a deck. So they're breaking some kind of wall or something like that. Would be my guess. I have no idea. They didn't post the plan. I'll issue at soffit. All right, we got one to download here. And Rob is, and Robert's pretty much a stickler on not modifying wall heights as well. Oh, I see what's happening here. If you see the image, this is getting picked up from this railing wall. And stuff like this does happen in Chief, and it is hard to solve for. Let's go ahead and open up this file. Century Gothic, that's an old favorite of mine. So use that. Oh boy, I tell you what, this makes me so happy. I don't know if this user watched a video of mine that I have on the channel that says how do you illustrate a problem. This is how you illustrate a problem. This is fantastic. You set up a safe camera, you bubble the area that's got a problem. I love that. Thank you. Whoever that posted this, that's just awesome. So we don't have to sit here and guess. Very cool. So this is coming from that wall below. Just, we know that. So what is this wall below? And let's just click default wall bottom height. This is the railing. Okay. Set to no room definition. Oh, how funny is that? What happens there? And if we open this up and we just say in the rail style panel, we say it follows, we want to follow terrain. Interesting. What happens when we get rid of that? Move to this guy. What is this guy? And what is this? It's fencing. Got some funny little things happening here. What's this? There is no terrain. That's why we can't follow terrain. There is. Interesting. I'm forgetting something because there should be no reason why you can't follow terrain. Now when I select this, it is still this wall. And it looks like, is something being defined as a room? What is this? This is terrain, perimeter, okay. New features. Be driving anything. Interesting that it wants to, as soon as it hits. So like if we broke this, let's see a couple. We actually pulled this back. Let's just drop in a line real quick. What ends up happening? Rebuild. Let's try this instead. Let's break it right on that line. And let's get rid of that section. Still wants to rebuild back. Something about it's picking up the floor, floor height here. Anytime you got a wall in between two platforms, that Chief is trying to figure out the different floor platform intersections. So these walls are connected, and so it's picking up that we've got a floor platform. It might be that you might want to create a room here, handle this situation. The other thing you can always do is this would be really, really simple to just build a solid, honestly. For the sake of just getting off the island, as we say. Or, as Rob said, if you don't mind manually editing this, maybe that's the solution. Very strange when you select this that it's showing us a highlighted wall that is at that height here. Because if we delete it, that's what it's getting rid of, that wall. We turn this and start drawing it out. It's obviously not going to be affected by that roof line right under, until you actually are intersected. I don't know, right when it's underneath that roof. If you defined a room that said it had no roof over the top of it, that might be solved. Yeah, this is a tough one. I'd have to get back to this. All right, move forward on it. Just close all. Yeah, I can do. I'd like to solve that. Bet I can. Okay. Vertical board and batten. Well, I already have a video on this one, and it's a dang good one, and I have not found the need to redo it because it still works. It still works really well. So this is in my Chief Architect Shorts playlist. So if you go into playlists, and then there's one that has a picture of shorts on it, do full playlist. There is one in here that should say battens up in the top right corner. Fast 3D battens. Go watch
exterior
this guy.
room.
This is a really
you might need
fast
to tab to it. Now I want
essentially just you're taking a material region that's drawn up past the highest ridge on your property. You are architecturally blocking that material region, adding it to your library, doing a polyline based on the exterior room of your project, editing that polyline a little bit, converting that polyline to a distributed path, setting the distributed path minimum spacing to the spacing of your bats, and then dropping in that architectural block into that distributed path, explode the distributed path, and then you're exploding the architectural blocks and you have battens. It's very fast. This video is 6 minutes long, and I can do it in about 3 minutes nowadays. So there you go. Oh, here it is right there. Ah, someone posted it for me. Cool. All right. Attic ventilation. I responded to this one, so I've already seen this one. And I did actually come up with a system that actually worked. And I go into depth on this just to give some ideas. See if I can. This was recently. Here we go. So the way this is working is I have a bunch of symbols. So you can take a face, for instance. Let's just take a face. Okay, so I'm drawing out a face. And then from here, I'm just converting this face to a symbol. Okay, and whatever that symbol may be. Let's just say it's going to be an exterior fixture. And we're going to show advanced options. So now I'm going to set this to be from roof. Right? And then I'm going to set it to be, flush mounted or not. Totally up to you, but I'm going to say flush mounted. Okay. And roof to top then is just going to be 1/16 of an inch. It's just going to sit barely above the roof. Now here's what you have. You have a fixture that can be placed on the roof. It's flush mounted to the roof, and it can report its width. All right, so what have I created? I've created a ridge vent. A ridge vent can report to a schedule just like any other fixture. You can have any fixture report to a schedule, or a polyline can report to that schedule, etc. So the thought here then is that we are going to build a roof schedule where we are totaling the area of the projected area of the roof. There's a problem with this system, and I'll get into that. But here's the main thing. A roof can report its, if we just take our search tool, our search term right here, bam, connect it to this roof. I'm going to say just area instead, just to show you. This actually shows you projected area and projected overhang area. So if you subtract one from the other, now you have just your projected area inside of your walls. All right, so now that's essentially attic space. So if we say that that's attic space, and if there is the presence of a ridge vent, we're going to say that we need 1/300th of the square foot of that attic space in terms of net free area of venting. Okay, so now the next thing is, let me go look for the schedule that I built for this. I think it's just a roof schedule. Yeah, here we go. So what I was doing here then is I'm showing here's my attic area, 1,700 square foot. Here's the NFA required, net free area required. So that's 1/300th of the attic area, and it's totaling at the bottom. Then also in this schedule, I sent a fixture, and that fixture is showing us that here's our net free area based on the quantity of fixtures that I have, and based on some calc that I said that particular fixture produced in terms of net free area. And so we're showing here that we're short on net free area, but it's not a perfect setup, because ideally you'd like to show the calculations, meaning that, hey, we require 12 square foot of net free area and we're providing 13 square foot, which leaves a net of 1. You can't do that. Can't show the calcs. Not in any way that I've come up with yet that makes any sense, but you can show a required and what you are producing in your plan. So this was just me working through the system to see if it's even possible. The main problem with this system is that I have not yet discovered a way to understand what happens when I have a roof overframe condition, because it's still seeing this as an area below the roof plane, even though this is from a different attic space and should not be part of the calculation. So there's some complication here. The easiest way to do some kind of net free area calc based on vents is going to be polylines, in terms of not running into this particular condition. It might be that I get some kind of an adjustment factor put in that I could put in and create from this. So the nice part about this particular method is that I feel like it's a little bit more automated than using a polyline based system. This gets into some really complicated stuff though. So if you're interested, go take a look at that post on Chief Talk, because I do get into some details here that are nice to know. I skipped through walkthrough video. Oh no, I didn't. It's just next step. So I'm in the process of creating my first walkthrough video for my client. Is there a preference for using the CAD spline and convert to walkthrough path, or just use the create walkthrough? Also, when looking at some of the walkthroughs in the online help videos, it looks like they are using an outside software to edit the videos, splicing. Is that really necessary, or just for a benefit to show videos can look? I mean, I'm always going to prefer an edited video. I tend to put mine to music. It's an elevated service that I provide. I cut it, I splice it, I slow down, I do all kinds of things like that. And I mean, that's heavily produced videos going to make for a nice finished product. Do you use the spline versus just the walkthrough path? I have a preference. When I set up mine, I'll set up like an internal camera that I'm really happy with. And then in terms of just like the rendering settings of that particular camera. So let's just say I've got a ray trace camera here, and I've set up the backdrop, and I've set up the field of view that I want, and I've set up the lights the way I want them to. Well, there's a little trick here. you can come back to this camera, and in the edit toolbar is this create orbital walkthrough path. Now I don't want an orbital walkthrough path. The first edit handle selection is your camera number 1. So I'll just move that camera slightly to the right. I'll move the camera number 2 slightly to the left. I will select this first segment. It's 2 segments. It's 2 arced segments. So select the first segment, and you can just, there's an easy way of doing it. Change line to arc, arc to line, etc. So that made just a straight path line, right? And so then I can snap this to that camera number 1 to essentially remove that section. Now I've just got one section. Then I'll change that arc, that arc down like something like this. And now I've got the start of a walkthrough path where that original camera is that camera 1, right? I'm gonna set this up the way I want it. And then here's that camera 2. And you can left click and kind of have this be snapping to angle snaps and etc. Or you can right click and move this anywhere you want, right? And then just preview this. We have the ability to preview this. You can always add key points in wherever you think you need it. And then something I might do is just in terms of composition, I might be coming from one height up to another height and tilting down as I go. It helps if you can visualize what you're trying to do before you start going and editing the individual points. So hopefully that helps you out, get started on some walkthrough paths. But that's my general preference here. I really try to stay away from the yo-yo effect that I see in so many videos where it's you know, the camera's going in and then it's going out and then it's doing something that's just not organic. The number one thing I suggest you do is go look at look at on YouTube for real estate listing photography and videography, and you will find some really awesome ones there. Let's see if I can find one on the fly while I got this. I follow one of them that I really highly recommend. Let's see if I can. I think I would know YouTube for as often as I post on it, but I don't always know where my subscriptions are and who the heck I've subscribed to, and sometimes it's weird. Adam Savage is a local guy here. Let's see. I'll have to put it in the description. I'll find it and I'll put it in the description. But we've got a oh, full-time filmmaker. Here you go. Follow these guys.
Why I love Envato Elements? I love that I don't have to animate my own texting conversations in.
This guy's really go in depth. What's really awesome is if you can just kind of mimic some of their movements and some of their compositions in their videos. They're really good. So if you can do that in Chief, you're going to end up with a really nice video, and you'll see the cuts and transitions. Okay, where are we at? Walkthrough video. Anyone using any architectural AI services in your workflow? Yes, in so many different ways. It's all very minor things. I like to think of AI as my admin, if you will. I use it for doing some scripting stuff, and not only in Chief Architect, but Python to automate redundant tasks just in the Windows platform, right? Operating system. So if I'm creating folders for job folders, it can do all that for me automatically. If I get like ChatGPT to write a Python script, or if I get Claude to write a Python script for me. I use it for sometimes for image generation, or just ideas, creating ideas around image generation. I'm going to use it for marketing media stuff. So I use it to just get general information on the whole. I've got one that's built into the Pro plan that it's for looking up code. It does a pretty good job of looking up code. I have one that formats posts the way I like them to be formatted. I have one that does a really good job of kickstarting me on emails. And then just using it for corrections in certain ways. And I'm creating, there's one that automatically creates forms for intake forms for clients. So there's so many different uses for this. I'm not a huge fan of it for rendering. I think it does a terrible job. It also is a big liability. Rendering is already a liability in my mind. So It's even worse when you get AI to do it and suddenly you got to put some weird fascia detail up because it decided to splice in something strange on your on your initial concept. I don't know. I don't use it for that. So, all right. So the next one is create a glass bottle wall insert. I looked at this and I think I even responded. Yeah, I did. So they were trying to do this through just creating the geometry of a bunch of glass bottles going through a wall. But it's much easier to do this in terms of just creating a material. I'll give you an example. Let's just zoom in on this a little bit and we'll just grab a small little segment of this, right? And bring this back into Chief. That's now stored in a file. And we'll open up this wall, or we could change this to a glass wall assembly, or we could just spray this out. Maybe we'll spray it out real quick. So let's just use the adjust materials tool. We'll do a few things with this. So I'm going to put this in the texture source. So under downloads, we go. Right. And then take out the normal map in this case, or maybe we'll just copy. So Control A, Control C, Control B, we'll just paste it back in. This isn't going to be seamless, so it's not going to look perfect. And we can change this to translucent material, right? And then our transmission, translucency, transmission color map, we could even maybe paste this into the transmission color map. We'll see about that. I'm not sure that that's going to work. Let's try it out. And we're going to kick this roughness down all the way down to nothing. I mean, that's already doing a pretty decent job. So that if we change this wall, it's wrong just a little bit. We'll just delete all this exterior stuff. And let's frame the sucker. There we go. Now we can see through this thing. Look at that. Easy. Easy peasy. Simple. All right, let's go next. Oh, and if you're wondering why it's all fuzzy, I like to work in performance mode and AMD Fidelity FX, but we can kick it back. Get a real sharp image if we turned up my sampling rate a lot. Eventually this becomes a very sharp image. Well, that's cool. I like it. I like the effect. And of course, you could come in here and tweak around and make this a black and white transmission color map so that it's not actually having the color come through. Depends on what you. Okay, getting close. Getting to the end here. Luminous screens. I'm trying to represent a screwed in maybe porch by changing a single one window into a screen. I'm trying to represent a porch by single one window into a screen, but when I apply the screen to the glass pane, it becomes luminous and no longer see-through. Very. Well, they must have emissivity turned on. Turns out that's the solution. So someone turned on emissivity. Yeah, if for some reason something's glowing in your shot, like if this for some reason this ceiling was glowing, maybe it had a 1 level candle, you know, or higher. It just means we've got emissivity kicked on. What's great about this is if you do turn on emissivity on a particular material, now Chief recognizes this as something that you could turn off in your edit toolbar. Isn't that cool? That's in X16, so we turn that off, and it should have turned off, and it doesn't seem like it is. Hey Chief, what's wrong with you? One's producing light, one's not. Let's shut this all down. All right, what do we got? Joining roof planes on a porch. Open this up. The front porch extends out 16'4". As you can see in the image, there are side roofs that need to join, having difficulties because the side porch roofs don't protrude the same length. Any ideas would be great. well, yeah, you're going to have an issue here. You're going to have to change something. So just open this up. It gave some kind of warning message. Not what that was. Full 3D view. So here's our condition, right? Oh, and this roof plane is way off of the wall here. And we've got a few other modeling issues here. And this looks like it's a manually edited room has a negative ceiling, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, got some model issues in this one. This is also not coplanar, so maybe you needed it to be coplanar as well. That's what I'd guess. So that's this tool right here, move to be coplanar, and we just get to highlight another roof plane. The other roof plane's baseline must be parallel to that of the first. Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. Well, so here's a trick. Maybe we can reflect this. So look at that. Kick this warnings off, and then make it coplanar, and then reflect it back. Here we go. Quick and easy. And then join the two, and see that, yeah, you're gonna have to do some kind of roof redesign here. So what's really easy is making a break down here and then slapping that kind of up. Oops. That way harder than it needed to be. It's really easy. It's doing it wrong. Right, this way. Make a break here. Oh man, I'm just screwing up. Screwing up, man. I'm screwing up. And then probably take this edge. That worked. No, not close enough. That's something like that. But this would obviously need to get kicked back. Well, so funny things happen in this particular plan. You got some funny things. Take a look. Never know when you're gonna get some good design ideas, though. That's why I like opening these up. I love seeing what other people are doing. This wall's not aligned. Some Z fighting there. Also, this looks like it's a ballooned wall or an edited wall. Got an edited wall here. Manually dragging a lot of these through. Negative ceiling height stuff. Got some issues up here, it looks like. Some funny. All right. What else we got? I think we're almost done. And look, we're at the hour mark. Anybody running an NVIDIA 3070? I need the right driver. I'm gonna skip that one. We'll give you one more. Second floor exterior walls and walls extend to the roof. These are never fun. Post your plan. Yeah, maybe the roof, this roof plane right here was stopping this. All right, I think that's it. I made it through another one of these sessions. I really hope you enjoy these sessions, pick up some info. And then I can't stress enough, please drop in some comments. It really drives content. It drives the desire to interact with you guys. Drop in some comments. I'm trying to do a better job at responding to those comments, giving you something worth. And go check out the forums. Go check out the forums. Go check out the chat bot. Pretty cool. So, yeah. See you next time.